With Season 1's updated Flurry plus Rapid Fire build, you never have to worry about the resource at all. On top of that, you can play this build from level 1 to 100 while blasting everything in AoE and in single target. So let's go over the most important things in the skill tree first. Obviously, we are going to start out with Puncture, Enhanced Puncture and Fundamental Puncture, giving us the option to slow our enemies, but more importantly, making them vulnerable. That is going to combo perfectly with the improved Flurry passive, which is going to spread our vulnerable from one enemies to all of the other enemies that we are hitting. So basically, whenever you hit the improved Flurry, which is level 6, everything is going to be perma vulnerable. To get there, we take the enhanced Flurry and we spend as many points as we can into Flurry. We also take the sturdy passive to get more close damage reduction, and we also want to take the stutter step. But more importantly, since that is in the name of the build, we also want the rapid fire. You can see that it is maxed out here though, which is not going to be your main priority when you are leveling, but just invest 1 point here, get the enhanced rapid fire and then get the advanced rapid fire. And then throughout leveling and going down the skill tree, you will have a lot of options where you can just put a point into rapid fire whenever you basically have nothing else to put your point in. Then in the agility category, we want to unlock Shadow Step and Dash as soon as possible. Then when we have that, we want to get Weapon Mastery. And then when we do this, we also want to take Exploit and Malice as soon as possible. But all of the time, whenever you have spare points to put in, when you can't go to the next category, you need to work on unlocking the Enhanced Shadow Step and the Disciplined Shadow Step. Disciplined Shadow Step being extremely important for survivability, because that is going to lower the cooldown of your Shadow Step tremendously, and that is especially important for hardcore. Now, you can probably see something that is very unusual. We max out Dash, and that is basically only to reduce the cooldown as much as possible. We also take Enhanced Dash and Disciplined Dash, enabling us to have a very reliable slow and not really rely on Puncture alone. But again, having a slow, very low cooldown with 10 seconds and 2 charges, giving us the option to unlock the cheats on yourself. Since we are slowing with Dash, we are then going to activate the cheats on all of them, basically reducing the damage that we take from everything that we dashed through by 15%. And that is a very, very good codex aspect, but we need a reliable source of CC, which a Disciplined Dash is going to take over for us. Now, as soon as we reach the Imbuement skills category, we want to get our Shadow Imbuement, we want to take the Enhanced Shadow Imbuement, and we want to take Mixed Shadow Imbuement. We don't need the Blended Shadow Imbuement, making everything vulnerable, because we have our very reliable Puncture plus Flurry combo. And therefore we can get away with taking Mixed Shadow Imbuement, dealing way more damage than if we would be taking the Blended Shadow Imbuement. Then we want to max out Shadow Imbuement, unlocking the Giga Dopamine hit, everything on the screen destroying explosions. And we want to take the Precision Imbuement on top of that. In the Ultimate Skills category, we just want to take 1 point in Adrenaline Rush to be able to get the other stuff. We want to take Haste, which is unfortunately almost never going to give us the 15% increased attack speed, because we probably never will drop below 50% energy, because as you can see here, we are running combo points, and with the nature of combo points, we will never drop below 50% energy, maybe on some bosses, but then again, we will be happy because we get the very good haste, 15% increased attack speed. We just put 1 point in impetus here, just because we can, and because we have points left over, and then between 1 to 50, we are running Close Quarters Combat, which is going to give us 30% attack speed, because the Puncture is a marksman skill and our Flurry is a cutthroat skill, therefore enabling the Close Quarters Combat passive all of the time, and everything is going to be crowd controlled, because if you remember, the Dash is going to slow, also Puncture is going to slow, and that is going to be a lot of attack speed, which is very helpful for a combo point build. Now, with Max Roll Planner, there is the great addition here that you have different stages of the game which you are going to reach, and this build planner is going to follow your stages. So only Codex is basically level 1 to 50. And then we have endgame, which is going to be level 50 and up. As you can see here, it already changed a little bit, but let's go through this from the top. Basically here in the top, nothing really changes. But as you can see here, we will have a huge change in this department. The thing is that whenever you are level 50 and plus, you probably will have found a Mangler's aspect. That one is not in the codex, therefore I couldn't include it in the build before. But if you find a Mangler's even before level 1 to 50, feel free to already swap to the endgame build here, or the build stage, because that is going to allow you, well, first of all, Mangler's is going to allow you to make to daze the vulnerable enemies. Therefore, you are going to unlock the knockdown on dazed enemies while crit with trick attacks, and that is going to combo together with concussive, which is going to give you 12% increased crit chance against knocked down enemies, and that on top of that is also going to combo with rapid gambits, which is going to reduce your evade cooldown by 1 second whenever you daze an enemy from the Manglers. So that cluster is only usable whenever you have the Mangler's aspect. That can also again be before level 50, but usually I didn't include it there because it's not codex. So on top of that, we are to get this cluster, we're taking out the points here in dash, and we're taking out the point here in impetus that was basically just thrown in there. It's probably always going to be used for your puncture, which is not that great, but sometimes you might get away with using it for flurry or rapid fire. And then, as you saw it before, we are going to change the key passive. Before, we had close quarters combat, and we couldn't really run momentum because we had no reliable way of stacking momentum, which is coming from the fact that we didn't have a reliable source of either stun, frozen, or daze. But with the Mangler's aspect, we will have a reliable source of daze. Therefore, we can very easily stack momentum to 3 stacks, unlocking 20% increased damage reduction, 30% increased energy regen, which is not really that important for this build because of the nature of combo points. And then we will also get the 15% increased movement speed, which is giga nice. We are also going to do one more little change here for improved flurry, which was responsible for our vulnerability, which is now going to be covered by the exploit glyph as soon as we unlock our 4th glyph socket. And then we can go back to our skill tree, get rid of the improved flurry passive, and unlock the advanced flurry passive, which is going to give us the ability to stun all of the enemies after we evaded through enemies. The evade is also going to be resetting very quickly because of the rapid gambits passive, therefore enabling us to basically perma-stun everything in the range of flurry. You can see the different stages here, and you can click through these. There's also one without condemnation. There's only just this little change from condemnation to a sword or also a dagger with the corruption aspect. It's not really needed. It's a little bit overkill, but you might go and maybe improve my build with another aspect on this slot whenever you don't want to run condemnation. There's also going to be one more small change, which is going to be whenever you find penitent Glyphs, which is going to be our best in slot build variation basically. As you can see here, Penitent Glyphs is going to chill everything that we basically touch or walk through, therefore unlocking the cheats aspect. Therefore we can take out the 2 points in dash here because we don't really need the slow anymore, and we can now rely on the chill, basically CCing everything and therefore activating our cheats on the target. And while we freed up those 2 skill points, we invested then here into Frigid Finesse to deal even more damage against chill targets, which is again everything from Penitent Glyphs. And we needed 1 more point to max out Frigid Finesse, and we took that one out from the stutter step right here. There's also 2 very easily to transition Paragon boards, depending on which stage of the game you are in. This is going to change with your Penitent Glyphs. So before Penitent Glyphs, you will run a layout like this. I will not go into big detail here. You will just click through this and you can follow this to a T. And you can see that we unlock basically every bonus node here. We will have all the bonuses for the glyphs, and we will basically min-max as much as possible. And again, this is going to change whenever you find Penitent Griefs, so only Codex, Endgame, and Endgame No Condemnation is exactly the same, and Penitent Griefs is going to, as you can see, it basically changed nothing. We will just take the Control Glyph here, and we will get rid of the Closer Glyph to scale our damage even higher, because the multiplicative damage here from the control glyph is much higher than the closer. We will unfortunately lose 10% close damage reduction, but that is not going to be a big problem because the damage that we get is going to be much higher. For the endgame aspects and gear, we will go very quickly through this. Cheats is going to be our main choice because of the points we discussed before. On the helmet and the stats you can see on the screen right here. And then for the chest, we want to take Manglers, also because of the huge synergy with a lot of passive skill points with the stats that you see on screen here. We want to take Accelerating on our gloves with the corresponding stats that you see on screen. Then Might on the pants. Then Penitent Griefs as our BIS setup, basically. Then we want to take Edge Masters on our two-handed crossbow. Then we want to take Disobedience on the neck, which is a little bit debatable. I think in softcore you might get away with using an offensive one here, but for hardcore I would definitely suggest going with Disobedience. Then we want to take Ring of the Expectant on the ring, and we want to take Encircling Blades on the ring also. Then we have the Condemnation as our BIS. Again, you can change this for a Corruption sword or dagger, which is a little bit overkill. I think Condemnation is much better in this setup. And last but not least, we take Rapid to increase the attack speed of our basic skills. The Season 1 mechanic, Malignant Hearts, is fairly easy to explain. In my opinion, the best heart that you can get is the Caged Heart of Revenge, which is going to reduce the incoming damage by 20%. That is going to be socketed into one of the hearts. Then whatever Wrathful Heart, except Creeping Death, which is a dot-based heart, you're going to socket in one of the rings, and then on the other ring, you will either socket in Tempting Fate, or you will change this up by using the Dark Dance, which is going to take a little bit of your life to make your next core skill stronger, which is going to be really good because we are using combo points, therefore having a much higher scaling on this. There is a very good video by Xario who combines Math and Diablo 4 in an amazing way. That video is going to be linked down in the description below. That is going to have a spreadsheet where you can insert your critical strike damage, your critical strike chance, and then it's going to show you if Tempting Fate is worth getting for you. Now, since we are playing combo points, we always want to use Puncture 3 times and then decide if we are going to use Rapid Fire or Flurry. On the screen right now, you can see there is one singular elite, therefore we are using Rapid Fire with our 3 combo points. But if you don't see just one single enemy or don't see a priority enemy, as you could see here, you will always use your 3 combo points on Flurry. If you decide to use your 3 combo points on Rapid Fire, it's extremely important that you dodge before you press Rapid Fire. Because of the advanced Rapid Fire passive, you are going to deal a lot of damage with your next Rapid Fire after you have evaded. Sometimes the decision is not as clear. Therefore, I like the build very much because it has a little bit of mastery built into it, where you really can shine by deciding between Rapid Fire and Flurry. As you can see on the screen right here, I very quickly killed one of the damage resistance aura mobs and then killed it basically with Flurry. And that is something that you need to learn the more you play the build. Now, at the beginning, I was trying to rapid fire these damage resistance mobs and didn't really hit them because there was something in front of it, therefore sponging my whole damage because they were basically in the range of the damage resistance aura. And over the course of the time, you will basically master when to use rapid fire, when to use Flurry, which is a very cool mini game in itself, and definitely gives you the option to learn the build and master a build. That is something that I really like here, where you can really express the experience that you have with the build. You're also going to learn the range of your Flurry and you can min-max the range of the Flurry sometimes because the enemies are not always going to be clumped up for you, and sometimes you can really get away with standing between two enemies and then pressing your Flurry, still hitting both of them, and in the beginning it doesn't really look like you can hit them, but at some point you are going to learn the range of your Flurry quite well. And again, that is something that I really like, where you can show off your expertise or mastery of a build with little things like that. Here you can see a little bit of the downside of the build. If you have enemies, especially the Hornets, that are usually quite spread out, as you can see here, yeah, all of them are kind of spread out. You have this in a pack of Flurry range, and then you have this in a pack of Flurry range. It's not that you lose a little bit of time, but again, this build is so extremely fast in killing big packs that you kind of make up for it anyway. But again, I also want to highlight the disadvantages of the build here, and that is a very, very good example. You're kind of slow compared to Twisting Blades, for example, when the enemy packs are a little bit spread out and you can't really clump them up and kill them with just one Flurry cast. But again, it doesn't really matter if you have to cast Flurry once or 3 times because you are just so fast with this build. Now, obviously, the pros of this build are huge AoE damage and huge single target damage. With the buffs to Nightmare Dungeons coming in 1.1.1 to the density, every rogue build with Shadow Imbuement is going to skyrocket in efficiency, because the more mobs you have on screen, the bigger the Shadow Imbuement explosions are going to be, or the damage that you deal with your Shadow Imbuement. So this build is definitely future-proof for 1.1.1. And of course, with the nature of rapid fire, our single target damage is crazy. As you can see, this is a recording from leveling, and I am level 61 fighting level 67 mobs. And as you can see here, the rapid fire is just annihilating these elites extremely quickly. That are the end of dungeon elites in Bastion of Faith. And I mean, they are 6 levels up. The gear is nowhere good, and I am just demolishing in single target. As you can see here, we spawned the mini end boss of the dungeon real quick. And yeah, again, rapid fire is making very, very quick process with these. I'm spamming a little bit of Flurry because, again, there's a lot of AoE, but as soon as I start hitting rapid fire there, you can see that basically everything is dying extremely quickly. Yeah, if you take a look here at Mera or the Sentinel, how crazy that is as single target. If you want to see the Twisting Blades Rogue updated for Season 1, I suggest you watch this video next. And if you like content similar to this, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time.